Okay, today we are looking at week 2, day 1 worksheets for reading and math. So this is the article about Gregor Mendel and some questions that go with the article. And then this one has 2 pages of math, and they're all for skip counting within 1,000. So we're going to start by taking a look at the article about Gregor Mendel. So just like always, when you have a passage like that, you want to go ahead and set a timer for 1 minute and read through it and see how many words you can read in a minute. That way you can keep an eye on how you're doing with your reading fluency. And then you want to read the article all the way through, being a real reader. So when you're reading it all the way through, you're reading to make sure you understand the article. So you're thinking, you're asking questions, you're noticing things, you're making connections to yourself, to other things that you've read, and to the world around you. So this article is about Gregor Mendel, who happens to be one of my idols. I think he was really amazing in what he did for biology and for genetics. So I was excited to see that we got to read about Gregor Mendel today. So if you want to go ahead and read along with me while I read through the passage. Gregor Mendel always loved nature. He grew up on a farm. He walked through the countryside every day. He loved to look at plants and animals along the way. He noticed the ways plants are alike and different. Later, Mendel became a teacher and scientist. One day, Mendel took a long walk. He saw a flower that was different from others of the same kind. It made him wonder, what caused such differences? He began to grow pea plants as part of an experiment. In 7 years, he grew thousands of plants. He kept track of different traits in plants. He noticed the color of the flowers and pea pods. He measured the height of the plants. He noticed the shape of their pods and leaves. He saw that there was a pattern. Parent plants passed traits to daughter plants in certain ways. Mendel's studies helped him discover rules about how traits are passed on. This was the beginning of a branch of science called genetics. Genetics has helped scientists and doctors understand more about all living things. Scientists can fight disease and grow healthier food. Next time you are curious about something, explore it. Who knows, you, like Gregor Mendel, could change the world. All right, so we read it one time for understanding. Now let's take a look at the questions. The first question here, well, first we'll read the instructions. It says Gregor Mendel comprehension questions. Answer the following questions, citing evidence from the text. So what that means is we're going to have to go back into the text when we answer our questions. Okay. So, what made Gregor Mendel a good scientist? So it didn't say in here Gregor Mendel was a good scientist because. So we have to really think about what we read and how it relates to a good scientist. So I'm going to look kind of for words in this text that remind me of something a scientist would do. So as I'm going through this, I see that he loved to look at plants and animals. That's something a scientist would do. He noticed things. That's something a scientist would do. He wondered. Something else a scientist would do. He did an experiment. Okay, so also scientists do experiments. Okay, and he noticed again. There's that word noticed again. Noticed. It's in here a lot, isn't it? And he saw that there was a pattern. Let's see, anything else I want? You know, maybe measured. Scientists measure things, they weigh things, they keep track of height, weight, how things change. Okay, so I feel like that's quite a bit. So notice, wonder, experiment, notice, and measured. So what made Gregor Mendel a good scientist? So remember, I'm always going to repeat my question in my answer. So I'm going to say Gregor Mendel was a good scientist because, and I'm going to look back at these words that I circled, he noticed and wondered about things, and he did experiments. So Gregor Mendel was a good scientist because he noticed and wondered about the world around him. And he did experiments to study what he saw. Now, you maybe didn't write the same thing that I did, but if you look back and you notice that he loved plants and animals, that he measured things, that he studied things, anything like that, as long as it relates back to something that a scientist would do, you're good. Also, make sure your sentence starts with a capital letter, make sure it ends with a period, and you put nice spaces in between your words when you wrote. All right, so we're gonna take a look at number 2. What 3 facts does the writer share about Mendel's life? Okay, so this is all about Mendel and what he did in his life. So a lot is shared at the beginning. So we know that Gregor Mendel loved nature. We know that he grew up on a farm. So I'm going to put a 1 here. He loved nature. Number 2, he grew up on a farm. And then down here it says he became a teacher and a scientist. So I'm going to put that for number 3. Okay, so again, we repeat the question in our answer. Mendel, or 3 facts, we'll just say 3 facts about Mendel's life are,